couple of days for, self-pity kind of reasons. Um, I'm too old for some things and not old enough for other things. And my body was telling me I'm not old enough. So I had a little bit of self-pity in there. Getting my computer set up behind everything. Yeah, I let Cole's Corner know that I'm going to go live. I did not let my daughter know that I'm live because she just took one of the grandchildren to go on a to go on a play date. Yeah, it was kind of funny because nobody knew this was going to happen, and I get a phone call saying, "Is the grandson with you?" Because, sorry, there was something on my screen. Because he's got to go get ready to leave, and yeah, he wasn't ready to leave. He was upstairs watching Mickey Mouse. So, yeah, that was my day. Got to watch my grandson, and then eat something, and then watch my grandson, and then have him take over my room. It was very entertaining. So, yeah, when he came into my room earlier today, he was Dr. Grandson. Excuse me. So if I were to talk to him at that point and not call him doctor, then he would remind me not so subtly that he's doctor right now. And when we were in the living room this afternoon, he was officer. And then it's his name that follows, but, officer grandson. So I called him Officer Dr. Grandson, and that was not good. And then I called him Officer Grandson Doctor, and that was no good either. I was entertaining myself to his annoyance. So, yeah. Yeah, for Monday and Tuesday, I kind of just let the day get away from me, so don't have an excuse other than the day got away, but I'm here now. I just didn't feel like talking, didn't feel like, creating a subject to talk about. So, I did kind of like when we were talking about Christmas traditions. So, when I was younger, it was much easier because one side of the family didn't really do Christmas very much. And if that grandmother wanted to participate in Christmas with us, then she'd just come on over. Yeah, growing up, we had Christmas morning with the immediate family, my brother, sister, and my parents. And, yeah, we'd get up, do the stockings and gifts at home, and then we were allowed to pick one gift that we would bring to my grandma's house. And then in later years, it was, it wound up just being my aunt's house, but my grandma and grandpa would do 1 year, my aunt and uncle would do 1 year, and then my parents would do 1 year. So, yeah, it was much more fun to go to other people's houses than to make sure that the living room was spotless and our house was, I think our house was pretty much smaller than the other two houses. My grandparents had a fireplace in their living room, and that confused the heck out of me because sometimes it would move. And just being a kid, I didn't understand that it wasn't a real fireplace. And there was never a real fire in it, but they could move it around from one wall to another. So, yeah. Sometimes I thought I remembered it being on another wall, and of course my siblings would say, no, no, it's always been there. And I was like, no, I'm sure it was over there. And I couldn't figure out how come this fireplace could move around the room. So talk about making someone feel silly. Oh, excuse me. That was not pretty, but it felt good. Yeah. That was the first time that, I was second guessing reality. And, yeah. It was kind of nice going to my grandma and grandpa's house because, while I think their house was probably about the same size as ours, they had a basement, but we didn't have a basement. When my mom grew up in that house, there were 3 bedrooms. But long before I was born, they made alterations to the house, like adding the basement. And they got rid of a bedroom to kind of expand the dining room area. So they had a kitchen and large dining area, and then a little bit further back they had what was called a TV room, because they didn't have the TV in the living room. There was a special room where we could sit and watch TV. And yeah, and across the hall from that was Grandma and Grandpa's bedroom, and then between the two, just at the end of the hall, was the washroom. And their washroom had something neat that I'd never come across anywhere else. They had a laundry chute. So there was basically a little box built beside the sink, and it had a hinged top. So when everybody got changed at night, they could throw their dirty clothes down the laundry chute, and it would wind up on a pile in the basement. So that would make it, laundry's all in one spot. So, yeah, I had forgotten about that. It's been so long since I had a laundry chute. I don't know when the house got raised, but it wasn't 2 floors when I moved in. So, yeah, so, when it was time for kids to eat, we didn't always have a kids' table. Sometimes the kids just went and ate in the TV room, which was fine when I was one of the kids, but when I had the kids, then they needed to be supervised wherever they were. So it was kind of funny. We ate with no supervision, and yeah, it was kind of a big deal when we got to eat at the grown-ups table. But it wasn't as fun because we got to watch The Magical World of Disney, and it wasn't always cartoons. It was always exciting when they were cartoons. And sometimes we could see Charlie Brown specials, like for Christmas or Thanksgiving, or or Halloween. So, yeah, those were exciting times. Always liked being able to, have this whole little room to ourselves. And when we'd sleep over at my grandma's, that was usually where we slept, was in the TV room. Sometimes they also had a hide-a-bed in the basement, so sometimes we slept in the basement. I didn't like it when we slept in the basement because Grandma always thought we were cold, and their blankets were the thermal blankets, and she would come downstairs and see us all so cold and cover us up again because, we kicked off the blankets because we were hot. So, uh, special times at Grandma's house. Yeah, my grandparents did a lot of their shopping on Saturdays because, they both worked. My grandpa worked at the post office, and my grandma did janitorial at a school. So, I mean, I've always seen people work. So, if it wasn't, if it was inside the home work, it was inside the home. Didn't matter. There was always work to be done. So, yeah. Christmases were always fun. At Easter, my grandma would always get these, they're about this wide, and it was, basically what suckers are made out of, but in the shape of a castle. So we got those every Easter, and, 4 out of the 5 grandchildren would make short work out of those castles, and my sister would save hers. Most likely until either her sister or brother got a hold of it. But she was always one who could set things aside and have them later. What else did we get? On Easter we got the larger candy eggs, and they were basically just sugar inside a candy shell. And not my favorite anymore because we had those all the time growing up. Yeah, well, we stopped getting those when my cousin was diagnosed as diabetic. So he wasn't the first one in our family that was diagnosed as diabetic. It was my uncle, and then my cousin, and then one grandmother, and then the other grandmother, and then my mother. So it's not something you necessarily outgrow. So we have currently 3 diabetics in the family. Excuse me, because both my grandmothers are no longer with us. So doesn't mean we don't think about them. Still love them both dearly. On my last live, I talked about was it the last live? I think it might have been. I talked about both my grandfathers serving in the military, and I still don't know which side my paternal grandfather served on because they lived in Europe, so it's not always cut and dry when you are in the area that things are, being the most affected. So, I never met my paternal grandfather. He passed before I was born. So, I honestly just thought he didn't want to have anything to do with his kids' families. So, the only thing that I had known about him until I was an adult, was that one summer my grandmother, my Oma, had to write a letter about stuff that her children should have gotten because of their father and didn't. And all I knew was that Oma had to write this letter, and it made her cry, and my sister told me that it was about my dad's dad. So I had thought that he had passed then, but I think my mom was waiting to have my sister when he passed, so he got to meet he had the opportunity to meet at least 2 of his grandchildren. So not sure if he actually did or not, but he was not talked about. So, yeah, when my grandmother was in the hospital, my Oma, we started talking a little bit about, her first husband. And she never did tell me that she was married to more than one person. But she was only married one person at a time, but she had 3 marriages and ended them all prematurely. So, you know. Yeah, so I remember sitting in a vehicle with my dad because we were waiting for my mom to finish with something and then we were going to pick her up. And so he said, he was asking what I talked to Oma about. And one of the things was his dad. And I said, well, because I don't really know much about him. And it's kind of sad that I don't really know much about him because, without him I wouldn't be here. So, and then my dad, usually the closed book, said, okay, so what do you want to know? Well, my Oma told me that he was a forest ranger. And my dad's like, well, not exactly. So apparently he worked nights in the outdoors and took a gun with him. Not sure what he did, but my dad said the term forest ranger was very, very, probably how you would tell a child what he was doing. Yeah, because this was, my daughter just texted me. Not sure what she texted me because there were no words there. Yeah. Well, let's see, my dad was born in 48. So him growing up was kind of definitely different because he wasn't born in Canada. He was born in Austria. So for him, growing up was probably in the 50s for most of it. And yeah, I think my dad was 9 when he and my aunt, he and his sister came over here. And they were kids. They flew unaccompanied to a different continent and started an entirely new life. It's crazy. Oma said she was here for maybe 2 years before she sent for the kids, and I don't know, I don't think I could do that. Well, I didn't think I could do that. And then I moved to small town Alberta and my kids stayed in Edmonton and then St. Albert, and yeah. It was tough living in small town Alberta when my kids were not there. At least they were, a phone call away if mom needed to talk to them or if they needed to talk to mom. So, hello, Miss Lizzie. You sent me a message, but I wasn't really able to read it. I was pretty sure you weren't gonna show up. So, I guess I have to be nice now. Yeah, I didn't tell Lizzie that I was going live. But she knows. Maybe she got a notification. That's exciting. People getting notifications that I'm on. Yeah. Hi, how's it going? Oh, so he didn't go with you, or did you take him anyway? Oh, gotta love it when kids fall asleep in weird places. Ugh, my hair. Yuck. Oh, you haven't left. I thought you left already. Okay. Oh, long days. They start in the morning and they end at night. It is currently 4 degrees Celsius here, and we are looking at about 7:45. So, Edmonton time, St. Albert time, Alberta time. So, apparently, the time change thing started in sometime in the 1970s, and I'm thinking it was 75 or 76, and I was too young to care. I just, thought that it had been since the dawn of time that we took this hour away at one point and added it back at another point in the year. Oh. Are you telling me that I'm talking too loud? No, she didn't get a notification. Aw, darn, phooey. Shucks. I don't get notifications, so. Yeah, I was talking about Christmases when I was growing up. Excuse me. I know what I should talk about next. When we pretty much moved all our big family gatherings to my aunt's house, instead of calling my uncle to get the turkey ready, she decided to name all her turkeys George. So instead of it's time to carve the turkey, it was, hey, George needs to get ready for dinner. So that was fun. Oh, I thought that would be a longer story. What else should we talk about? I did mention that. Every time I brought a child home from the hospital, there was snow on the ground. Now, tradition started when I had my first child in August of 1992. It actually snowed in Edmonton on August 18th, and there was still that icky white stuff on the ground when we went home 2 days later. So, yeah. My other children were born when it was normal to have snow on the ground, so I just don't want it to do that here until after Halloween. Because having, kicking leaves on Halloween is much more fun than dodging snowballs. I had a thought, but it left. Oh, yeah, my other children were born in January and December, so it is relatively normal to have snow on the ground then. And, oh, so I said that for nothing? Well, you're going to have to rewind it and watch it again, because I'm not saying it again this stream. I'm tired. I think I'm gonna call it quits at about half an hour. I'm at just at the 24.5 minute mark. Almost. Yeah, I've been spending my days just feeling sorry for myself and trying to beat the... Oh. Well, say hi to Cookum for me. Yeah, I've just been laying down, feeling sorry for myself, having a headache, and trying to get rid of it. And, yeah, other aches, too, that apparently I'm not too old for. So, yeah. I took some leave before I went on, and my head's just, doing a little bit of throbbing back there. So, you know, life. So, I am probably going to spend the rest of my day watching videos, watching The Simpsons, trying to catch up. Because, there's some new ones on now. And I peeked yesterday. There's 3 new ones on. So, yeah. I watch videos on Disney Plus. I watch videos on YouTube. Yeah, that's not cryptic at all. I know exactly what you're talking about, but it just seems very funny that you won't say what it is. Yeah. Thank you. If you remember when you come home. If you don't, then you know what? I'll live. So, 3.5 more minutes. It's called Combogesic or Combogesic. It's, yeah. When you have blood pressure issues, you're not supposed to take Aleve or Advil because those are blood thinners and they don't actually help. It temporarily helps with a headache, but then it makes things worse after the fact. But this Combogesic or Combogesic or whatever it is, it combines Tylenol and Advil, so you kind of get the best of both worlds. So, yeah. But nothing helps right away, so it's never going to feel like it's good enough because it doesn't work right away. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. I am sorry I missed a couple of days, but I didn't even feel like sitting up, so yeah, my face can look very interesting depending on the angle as it is, but I was not going on. Oh, yeah, I forgot that was this week, or today. Okay. But I'm going to start to say goodbye. A minute and a half to say goodbye. Isn't that bad? I just watched myself scratch my head. Yeah. I've been looking at older videos to see if there's any new comments on them. Because, sometimes people comment after the fact, and if there's questions or something for me to address, then I would like to do that instead of just making people think that I'm ignoring them and they're commenting to the great abyss. So, yeah. All right. We've almost made it to 30 minutes. Okay. Stay safe, everyone. I hope everyone feels loved. Yeah. Stay safe, have fun, and we will see you next time. Bye.